Hello, internet friends. I'm Ryan, and this is Demos in the Dark. And tonight we have a new one from Spaceman. And if I'm being totally honest, the last couple from Spaceman have been a bit intimidating. And this one is no different. Tonight we are looking at the all analog Aurora Flanger. So the Aurora Flanger is an all-analog bucket brigade flanger. It has 5 different modes on it, 2 LFO modes, 2 tape modes, and a comb filter mode. It has a bajillion controls on it so that you can really tailor this thing. I'm going to throw this in on a mix on multiple guitar tracks as well as synth. And then come on back and we will run through this thing all by its lonesome. Let's take a deeper look at the Aurora Flanger from Spaceman. I do want to note ahead of time that this is not a tutorial. This is just a brief overview, just kind of give you an idea of some of what this pedal can do. A tutorial would take a really long time, and we just don't have it. So I'm just going to briefly touch on each one of the modes, and you will likely leave with questions, and that's okay. So let's start with the controls. We have the volume, which is the overall volume of the pedal. We have the selector for the different modes here. We have 5 different modes. We have the LFO 1 mode, the tape 1 mode, the LFO 2 mode, the tape 2 mode, and the comb filter mode. Next, we have the width control, which is the main depth control of the pedal. We have a mixed control, which will go from 100% wet to 100% dry. We have these two knobs here, which are rate and range, and then they have these little arrows next to them. In certain modes, the rate knob will control the rate of the modulation. And in other modes, it will control the rise time of the modulation. And same with the range mode. In some modes, it will control the range. And in other modes, it will control the fall time. Then last, we have the regeneration knob and or regen knob. And to me, I'm sure there's a very technical thing that the regen does, but to me, it's always just like, how much jet do you want? Do you want a lot of jet or a little bit of jet? If you want a lot of jet, turn up the regen. If you want a little bit of jet, turn the regen down. And then we have the trigger, which has different roles depending on the mode that you're in. But to me, it always seems like an interrupter. It just kind of interrupts what you're doing. It interrupts the LFO in the middle of it. And it does very cool things with it. And we'll get into that in a little bit more detail as we go along. I am running a Scythe Guitars OH19 into a Milkman Sound 20-watt creamer. And that sounds like this. So we'll start with LFO1 right here. LFO1 to me is kind of more the classic flanger, the classic chorus, classic vibrato sound. Easily recognizable. So I got it set here. Yeah, it's that one. So we'll start with that width knob, and we'll bring the width down to very little. We'll bring it up. We can mess with the rate, and that is the modulation speed. And then the range controls how high the modulation will sweep. We've had it pretty high. We can drop it down low. Raise it up. Regeneration, more jet or less jet? We've had pretty minimal jet. Let's add some more jet. There's a lot more jet. So you can see there, you can tame, if you want a lot of jet, you can tame that with the mix knob so it's not so crazy. So the trigger on here, if you hit it, it resets the LFO to the bottom of the sweep. If you hold it, it sets it and holds it down there. So the next setting is tape number 1. And the best way to describe this is to imagine yourself with your finger actually on the tape flange and pressing down, except the finger is your foot and the flange is the trigger button. So this is going to require some floor space, but it's very cool. It's a very cool thing. So here we go. And in this case, the rate knob actually controls how fast the modulation will rise and fall. So it's been relatively slow. We can kick it to about a medium there. That's very fast. We'll go back to slow. So now we are in the LFO2 mode, which is pretty similar to the LFO1 mode, except you get to control the rise and fall of the modulation. And we do this again, remember, with these 2 arrows you have up and down. And so let's do some knob twirling here. Very, very cool effect when you pull that mix back a little bit and pull that width back a little bit. You can get some very awesome kind of swirly, chorusy kinds of sounds. So the trigger on this will reset the LFO to the bottom of this sweep, and holding it will keep it there. All right, we are back on the floor for tape 2. Tape 2 is pretty similar to tape 1 in the fact that you are controlling the modulation with the trigger button. But the cool twist on tape 2 is that you control the rise of the modulation with the rate, and then you control the fall with the range. So up arrow, down arrow. So right now I have it set to a slow up with a really quick fall. So here we have just the opposite. We have a very quick rise with a very slow fall. last mode that we have is the comb filter, and the comb filter is a filtering effect using short, non-swept variable delay time, and it's super weird and super cool. And we will just turn some knobs, and the trigger on this uh, will trigger between the rate and range settings, if that makes sense. So So it was just a very, very brief overview of the Aurora Flanger from Spaceman. And as I promised, it's very deep and it is very cool, and it takes a bit of time to really wrap your head around. But once you do, it's a very, very cool and effective pedal for all kinds of different genres of music, all different kinds of sounds. And I really enjoy it a lot. And to you, thank you for your time.